Good afternoon and welcome to Student Vote 2020. I'm Charlie Brogan with the newsroom of KFOR Radio. KFOR and KFRX are proud to partner with the Lincoln Public Schools every 2 years to provide Lincoln students in 4th through 12th grades the opportunity to participate in a mock election. Joining me today is Jaci Kellison, K through 12 curriculum specialist for Lincoln Public Schools, and Marielle Heinrichs of Southeast High School, this year's LPS Student Vote Coordinator. Before we reveal the results of today's election, we're going to take just a moment to learn a little more about Student Vote. Student Vote has been going on for 28 years. Jaci, I understand you participated in the first Student Vote as an LPS student. Tell us what you remember about it.
Yeah, so I participated in several student votes during my time as a student in Lincoln Public Schools. And honestly, I remember that first one the most. I was in elementary school and I was at an age where I was starting to kind of take in my surroundings and see the signs, hear the campaign advertisements, see the Saturday Night Live skits, and I was aware of what was happening. And so the ability to participate in student vote that year was really great for me to be able to have that dialogue at school with peers and with my teachers, and also be able to ask questions at home and just start to really feel like I was involved in that process, that important voting process that we have.
Tell us about the process, how it works, and what our turnout is today.
Yeah, so we had 21,194 students vote, and we asked students grades 4 through 12 to vote. So that number is the number of grades 4 through 12 students who voted. And the way it works is that each building has a teacher advisor, and then that teacher advisor selects 5 to 7 student election commissioners, and they help their teacher advisor implement student vote in their building. So they'll make signs, they'll maybe record videos or messages or announcements for their classmates. They'll hand out I voted stickers, they'll walk students through the process of how to vote. So it's really exciting to see that student involvement in the process of student vote.
Why does Lincoln Public Schools think this is an important lesson for students?
Yeah, I kind of think of it as two different really important lessons here. And the one is just that ability to participate in a mock election. So just that physical act of casting your ballot on student vote day is something that's really exciting for students. But then the other purpose is all of the lead up to that and everything that surrounds the student vote activity. So students are learning about the democratic process. They're learning about what different offices to vote for, why you vote for those offices, what those offices get to do and how they impact your life. They're learning about how to vote when they do become of voting age. They're not going to go online and vote on their Chromebook when they are of voting age, but they do learn then about how that all takes place once they do become of voting age. And so it gets students excited and it gives them that civic knowledge they need to be those informed and engaged citizens when they graduate from high school.
How do you teach the election process without favoring one candidate or one issue over another?
Yeah, that's a great question. We have a couple different skills that we really emphasize in our classes, and one of those is considering multiple perspectives. So students have had a lot of practice with a number of historical and contemporary events, considering multiple perspectives and thinking critically, and investigating those different perspectives and having a civil discourse about those different perspectives. So they've had a lot of practice, and when it comes time for election season, then they can use those same strategies that they have in place for other topics and apply those to the potentially divisive conversations that could happen around an election.
Next, we'll introduce you to our Student Vote Coordinator. Marielle, you've obviously put a lot of work into planning this year's Student Vote. What are some of the things you did to promote it?
So normally we would host an in-person kickoff event at one of the schools. This year it was going to be at Southeast, but because of COVID protocols, we couldn't have it in person. So we decided to take a more virtual approach. We contacted elected officials, students, and local organizations to speak about various topics relating to voting. And then we compiled them into 5 videos that were shown in social studies classrooms across the district over the span of 5 days leading up to today, voting day.
How important do you think it is for each student to vote?
It's important for every student to vote because they develop the habits and the want to have their voice heard. As a citizen, it's important to vote because your vote is your voice, and it is one of the most clear and fundamental ways of civic participation in one's community and country as a whole. Additionally, I think it's important to realize that, even if your first candidate doesn't get chosen, we can still see how many people voted for them or, a certain issue. And we hope that our elected officials can see that as well. So you're still heard no matter the outcome.
Which races and issues do you sense that your friends and classmates have been most interested in this year?
Well, from what I've seen, especially this year, it seems like students are just informing their peers and each other about a variety of topics, because they are realizing that what happens in the polls and what happens in Washington directly affects themselves and their peers. On social media, I've seen a ton of people who are my age, not even old enough to vote, informing people on the different ways they can vote and urging them to vote, because they understand that if we want to make change, this is how we do it.
All right. Well, it's time for the big reveal. We're going to give you the results of today's election. First item on our ballot is Initiative Measure 429. This is a proposed law that would amend the state constitution to allow casino gambling at licensed horse race tracks. Marielle, tell us the results of Initiative Measure 429.
So 4,886 voted for Initiative Measure 429, and 2,823 voted against.
Okay, the second issue on the item, Initiative Measure 430, a related measure in the package of three. This one is a proposed law that would authorize casinos at licensed horse race tracks and create a 7-member Nebraska Gaming Commission to oversee and regulate those casinos. Marielle, how did students vote on Measure 430?
So 5,210 students voted for Initiative Measure 430, and 2,476 voted against.
And the third item in that package, Initiative 431, this is a proposed law that would impose taxes on the new racetrack casinos and direct where that money would go. What about the results on Measure 431?
4,522 voted for Initiative Measure 430, and 3,170 voted against.
And the race for Nebraska's 1st District representative in Congress, the House of Representatives, how did that go?
8,891 votes for Jeff Fortenberry, 9,603 votes for Kate Bowles, and 1,832 votes for Dennis B. Grace. So Kate Bowles won the race for Nebraska District 1 representative in the U.S. House of Representatives.
And our Senate race, how did that go?
So 4,197 votes for Ben Sass, 7,665 votes for Chris Janacek, and 4,115 votes for Gene Sidek. So Ben Sass won the race for Nebraska Senator in the U.S. Senate.
And the final race on the ballot, the results for the President of the United States in LPS student vote, how did that go?
6,377 votes for Donald Trump, 12,784 votes for Joe Biden, and 1,776 votes for Joe Jorgensen. So Joe Biden won the 2020 student vote election for President of the United States.
And there you have the opinions of the students of the Lincoln Public Schools. We want to thank all of you so much for helping us reveal the results. Jackie, how can our community see the results after this?
So the results will be posted to our website, www.lps.org. And you can find the district-wide breakdown that Marielle just announced, as well as a school-by-school breakdown at that site.
All right. Thank you to Jackie. Thank you to Marielle for helping us reveal the results today. And a special thank you to our community partners that have helped make Student Vote possible. We'll be back in 2 years with Student Vote 2022.